Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Comics in Brief. My name is Yule, and this week we have no comic book news, which is good news because I've got extra time for comic book reviews for you right now. Let's get into it. First up this week, we have Avengers number 689, the 15th part of the 16-part weekly series that's been making my life a living hell. So for those of you that didn't see my review last week, Quicksilver selfishly, right? Selfishly.
Selfless.
Okay, that's weird. Quicksilver selflessly freed all the superheroes that were in stasis so that they could fight the enemy. The majority of this book is the Avengers and all the freed heroes fighting the newly minted Grandmaster Prime. And fight they do. But eventually, ultimately, everything comes down to this card game between Lightning and the previous Grandmaster. Suffice it to say, the Avengers win the day. At the end of this book, all that's left is the wrap-up, which is kind of curious that there is actually another issue to come. It is also infuriating that this issue was actually $1 more. If you compare this to Dark Knight's Metal, which was $1 more with extra pages and no advertisements, at least we got the wrap-up at the end of that and no extra issue. That kind of burns my butt just a little bit. So, we have one more Avengers issue to go till we can say goodbye to No Surrender. It'll be a happy day, let's just say that. Next up we have Action Comics number 1000, the Deca Centennial issue. This is a book that has a whole bunch of writers working with a whole bunch of artists telling stories about maybe 5 to 10 to 15 pages in length, celebrating Superman, either seeing him in action or actually getting to hear other people's accounts of him and what he means to them or what we mean to Superman. And that is a fantastic part of this book. But there is another reason why you want to read this book. And that is because Brian Michael Bendis is taking over. And this is his very first Superman writing. It also has Jim Lee artwork, and as opposed to the other stories, this is a story that we are supposed to gravitate and grab onto so that we want to read future issues of Superman. The thing about Brian Michael Bendis is I have read him for a very long time. I might even have Brian Michael Bendis fatigue. He was very instrumental in changing Marvel. He came from Image and he just shook everything up with the Avengers and basically said, if you like the old stuff, it's still there for you to read. I'm doing this new stuff and I don't care. And he often will come in and take characters and shake them up like a nanny shaking a baby. And can I say that? So that's what he does. And he came in this issue and he wrote this Superman story. There's this new character, Rogol Zahl, and it seems that this guy was involved in the destruction of Krypton, and he's attacking Superman, trying to cleanse the Kryptonian name. So that's the kind of stuff you have to look forward to with future Brian Michael Bendis Supermans. He's gonna, as always, have super awesome illustrators working with him because that's what he does. Superman seems like it's gonna be a little bit more exciting for those people that don't think he's very exciting. This was an okay issue. I think the celebration of Superman played off a little bit more than my curiosity as far as what Bendis is gonna be doing with this character. I'm still scared. I'm hesitant, but I'm going to definitely be reading and see what he does, because wherever he goes, he does something big. Next up we have Amazing Spider-Man number 799, another part of the Go Down Swinging story, which sees longtime writer Dan Slott actually leaving the book soon after this arc is finished. And the main villain in this story is the Green Goblin. For those of you that don't know, he has been mixed with like the Carnage symbiote, and he has been able to turn back into the Green Goblin in a kind of little mix. And he's found out who Peter Parker is again because of Big Mouth J. Jonah Jameson, and all his loved ones are in peril. Spider-Man's loved ones, that is. As always, there's excellent art in a Spider-Man book, this time by Stuart Immonen. I have been enjoying, for the most part, Dan Slott's career on Spider-Man. He is going to be leaving for greener pastures within Marvel. And maybe some of the stories have kind of lagged because, I mean, the guy's been writing it for like 10 years. But overall, his entire Spider-Man stuff has been good. And I'm looking forward to see where this story finishes up. I will say this, the very last page gave me one of the most laugh out loud moments I've ever had reading comics, and I'm not quite sure if I was supposed to feel that way, but I don't want to spoil what happens for you, especially if you get the guffaws I did. Pick up Spider-Man $7.99. The next issue is the 800. We all know you're going to get that one. Next up we have Cable number 156 by the writing team Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson with art by Herman Peralta. This is the second part of their story arc where we have seen a brand new villain from Cable's past introduced to us. In this issue we get a flashback story of Cable and Hope running from Bishop, and it is during this time that the creature makes himself known to Hope and Cable. I really like this issue. Again, I really enjoyed the character play between Cable and Hope. There is a good interaction between them when he's teaching her how to shoot a gun, and at the same time we see another flashback of Cable when he's young, being taught by his parents how to control his powers. And so there's a nice little dichotomy going on there. Is that the right word? For those of you that have read Cable in the past, you're going to get a nice little extra story from issues that you've read before. There's also this really nice moment in the book where we see this boat and it says Olivetti and in Roman numerals 1 to 15, which is actually the issue numbers that Ariel Olivetti did of Cable when Bishop was hunting Hope and Cable through the timeline. So that's kind of a neat little extra perk for those of you that could pick that one up. If you didn't, you should check those books out also. Funny enough, that collection is going to be coming out this Wednesday also. So a little extra something there for you. And lastly this week, to continue the Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson theme, we've got from Aftershock Comics Her Infernal Descent number 1. This tells the story of a nameless, I do believe she's nameless, middle-aged woman. She's a wife, she's a mother, and she's lost her family, and she is also so distraught that she's willing to follow the ghost of English poet William Blake down into the depths of hell. The art by Kyle Charles, a man with 2 first names, is not technically the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. But there are some very nice moments. Definitely when the nameless woman is going up to the attic. I really like some of the stuff there. When she is stuck in limbo, there are also some nice scenes of famous people bugging her. There's also pain that's evidenced on her face. But overall, she is really just a rather dumpy and plain woman. Not someone you visually necessarily are gonna root for. As she continues down her descent, maybe in future issues we're going to see some sort of change in her. That would be kind of cool. But as far as this issue is concerned, she mostly just follows William Blake around and travels through limbo. As far as the writing is concerned, I did really feel that there was a clear understanding of who this character is. You don't get a lot of insight into everything she's thinking, although there are caption boxes to let us know, but it's not overdone. Maybe the rhyming scheme from the poet is a little overdone, over and over, and the writers have threatened that we're going to get a whole lot more of that also. There was one particular moment that I really enjoyed. It was when she's running through all these famous poets and writers, and they're just asking her, oh, do people on Earth still know me? Do they still read my works? And she's like, I gotta find my family. I don't have time for you. And there's this really good line right here. It's where Homer, I think it's Homer, he's all, Odysseus's 10-year journey would have been wasted on you. And I love that. She's like, I just want to get to my family. This book was pretty good. I liked it. I don't know all the different characters that we saw. I mean, obviously one was Jimi Hendrix. But I'm not always sure if we're supposed to know. Maybe this book is going to be a little too smart for me. Her Infernal Descent, #1. It was a pretty good first issue. I liked it. Again, we got all the things we needed to get an idea of who this character is. Someone that wants something, somebody striving for something, all the things we need in a main character. If you're not looking for capes and tights comic books, you should definitely check this one out. As always, I like to remind everybody that these reviews are my reviews, and my reviews alone. If you have any problems with them, let me know. Also, don't forget that the first Saturday in May 5th this year, is Free Comic Book Day. We're going to have a ton of books that we're giving away. We're going to have a store-wide sale. And if you're anywhere near this store, you should visit your local comic store and say, give me some free comic books. Until then, we'll see you next week.